Welcome to Women's Wellness. I'm Joanne Hampton. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as a 14-year breast cancer survivor myself, I must say it's my favorite month. I love seeing all the pink ribbons. Not only does it bring awareness in our community that this disease does exist, it will affect our mothers, our aunts, and even our daughters. 1 in 8 women will be affected by this disease. Pink ribbons, they change fear into hope, confusion into knowledge, isolation into a sense of community. For these pink ribbons support empathy, understanding, and love. And the pink ribbons are a reminder that 40,000 women will lose their fight to this disease this year alone. During my journey, I have had the great pleasure to meet so many breast cancer survivors, true sisters. Today, I want to share 2 of their stories with all of you. I completely admire these 2 women, for they've taken paying it forward to a completely different level. Elisa Salvatore, former Las Vegas showgirl and the founder of My Hope Chest, and Angela Long, the founder of Breast Investigators, the coach of the All Breast Cancer Survivor Dragon Boat Team, Survivors in Sync, also known as CIS. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Elisa, could we start with your story? Could you tell us a little bit about what it was like when you were diagnosed?
Well, like you, I'm also a 14-year breast cancer survivor. And my journey was like many that are uninsured. In 2002, I was working on a new business in the internet, and had spent about 2 years and was getting ready to launch the next big thing for me. And right around fall, I found a lump in my breast. For the insured woman, she calls her doctor and says, okay, I need to come in and have a mammogram or a sonogram. And my journey was a little different. When you're an uninsured individual, you actually start at the health department. And the health department is going to try to navigate you through their resources in your community, which is really important for your listeners to know. They put me through and tried to get me on Medicaid, and actually I was denied Medicaid. So then I was in quite a pickle, trying to figure out, okay, I was told I needed a general surgeon to remove my cancer, a plastic surgeon to restore my breast, and an oncologist as well to take care of my treatment. So I was, you can imagine, pretty tore up, not knowing what to do. I was actually denied Medicaid. So then I had to say, well, where's the help? And luckily for me, Pinellas County Social Services, like Manatee County probably, had some funding which paid for my mastectomy and the 8 rounds of chemo that followed. So that was my journey in 2002. However, after my mastectomy, I was unable to get my breast reconstruction because our hospital didn't have funding. They didn't consider it a necessary treatment at the time. I called all the local organizations that one would think, the breast cancer charities, the Komen's, American Cancers, and nobody had funding. That wasn't what they did.
Exactly. I like to always say that too. People don't realize that just because you're diagnosed with breast cancer, it does not mean that you automatically get this whole new boob job. That is not what breast cancer is all about. And I saw that you run into that where there's all these women that are going through treatment, and they're physically, drained from surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, and now they actually have to sit there and say, wait a minute, mentally I have to prepare myself because I may never have breasts again, because it's not something that's automatically taken care of or considered part of treatment. It's just getting rid of the cancer and
Historically, that's true. That in the past, in 30 years ago, that wasn't a part of treatment. But luckily, thanks to the Women's Health and Cancer Rights Act of 1998, it mandates that reconstructive surgery is actually a part of treatment. insurance must pay
If they're insured.
If they're insured. And so my Hope Chest actually helps now with insured candidates that don't have their $6,000 or $7,000 deductibles. So I finally got my breast restored. I spent 3 years. I think, a little bit of my story is that I was a Las Vegas showgirl. And as a result of not being able to find the support that I needed here, I ended up having to go back to work 5 months post-chemo, minus one breast. They padded my costume. I called myself the lopsided showgirl because I could make fun of me, and I knew and hoped that the media would take a hold of that idea. And that's where the charity began, My Hope Chest, providing breast reconstructive surgery to uninsured and underinsured in Las Vegas in 2003. And then we moved back here where I'm from in Tampa Bay in 2010.
Wonderful.
So that's the journey so far. We're helping women locally and nationally. We are a national charity based out of St. Petersburg.
Angela, your story is similar. It's almost quite a number as far as my story is similar. But you're how long now a survivor?
I'm 13 years, almost
13.
Going on 14.
And you were also a young mom. And can you tell us a little bit of what your journey was like?
I was a young mom, like you were, 2 young children. I had no family history of breast cancer. I really didn't know anyone who had gone through breast cancer. So whenever I got the diagnosis, it was starting from scratch, trying to find information and resources. And luckily I had help with my husband. We learned as we went. And I learned on my journey how important it was to be an advocate. Of course, an advocate, especially for young cancer survivors, on breast self-awareness. If you're not getting mammograms, you need to know what's going on with your breasts and any changes. So you have to, be aware and informed about yourself. As I became diagnosed with breast cancer through my diagnosis, I needed to advocate for myself medically. I was able to take advantage of some medicines and chemotherapies that were coming down the pipeline that are standard care now, but because of my husband's research and advocacy, we were able to get those involved with my treatment. And then through treatment, I had to, find out ways to stay healthy and strong and find supports as a young mom, emotional support. And then afterwards, through survivorship, again, that's a whole new journey and finding how to advocate for myself on that and finding ways to build up my immune system and my health. It's just been a journey, finding new resources and information all along. And that's what took me on my journey to start Breast Investigators, to gather information and resources to share with others.
Absolutely.
Resources like My Hope Chest.
Absolutely. That's where I heard about My Hope Chest, was on Breast Investigators. So it's basically you were diagnosed at a time where there really wasn't much information, but thank goodness your husband would search online and you would look through, and now you're actually the person that's getting all this information together and supplying it to other survivors on their journey.
Yeah, that's what I found that was lacking. After my diagnosis and treatment was over, I really wanted to pay it forward, but I wasn't quite sure what my gift was to bring. But one thing that I think really pulled on my heart was that there was this information out there, and there was these wonderful organizations that were out there supporting people, but it was hard to find out about them unless you were fortunate enough to be in contact with somebody who was, sharing that information. So I felt like it was my part to gather that information together and share it with others, and that's what breastinvestigators.com is about.
Well, I could say she's done an amazing job. We have very parallel stories, starting grassroots organizations. Breast cancer is the most heavily funded cause in our country. It raises more money than children, animals, the environment, and there's a lot of information going around. At the top, larger organizations, which is terrific, but there's also vital information given and supported, in the smaller organizations. And Angela and I both met out in Las Vegas, actually, in our little tables at a conference, and a long time ago. And here we sit, and as a result, we're together. And I've met you, Joanne,
And actually, I will admit that you've helped me a little bit more than we're actually saying, because as a mom, you know, I'm always putting myself last. And I did have my reconstruction 14 years ago, you know, so it's not really the latest in technology. And every time I passed the mirror, it wasn't exactly what I wanted to see. I could use a little bit of, you know, just fixing and making it even, and you know, but there was always a baseball bat, or there was always, you know, that summer camp program, and I, you know, it was hard for me to justify spending money on myself to, you know, make me feel like me. And when I look in the mirror, that I saw me, and you gave that to me. And I, you know, and you gave me so much more, because I actually walk past the mirror now and I look again, and that's huge, you know, for a breast cancer survivor. And I know there's a lot of women out there saying, I never look in the mirror, because that was me for a long time. And I think you've even given me like an extra pep in my step when I do walk. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I really want to say thank you. And I can't even begin to imagine how it must touch your heart. And I know, you know, every year you help so many women, like you help them, and that's not even help really. I can't even say is to justify the word, but you give them themselves back. It must be so rewarding for you.
You know what? I'm a woman that doesn't really believe in redundancy of mission. My Hope Trust has a very unique mission. We are the only national charity helping make women whole again in body, mind, and spirit. I spent 3 years without my breast in my 30s. I had to go back on stage making a living with my body as a showgirl. It was the epitome of something is very wrong here. Not that everyone doesn't feel the same, but reconstructive surgery is the final step of treatment. It is putting a woman back together physically and mentally. We don't insinuate that women aren't whole and complete if they don't desire reconstructive surgery, but like yourself, myself,
Exactly.
That's how we feel. We looked in the mirror, and the moment that I had 2 breasts and everything was restored, for me was the closure of my breast cancer journey.
That's such a good point, Alyssa, because it is a personal journey, and some women are fine with, you know, post mastectomy and they're done, but a lot of women, you know, they need that extra step in that reconstruction to start to feel whole again and start to heal.
Well, we actually have a wait list of women. You know, we get our largest referrals, and this is something I want everyone to know. Our largest referrals come from American Cancer Society and Susan G. Komen. And so they're actually helping build a wait list of women. What we really need is funding. These surgeries are expensive. You know, our program, it runs between $500 and $15,000 to help one woman. We have to navigate a surgeon, an anesthesia doctor, and a facility to make this happen. So little did I know, I started the most complicated breast cancer organization in the country, but we're doing good work in God's work. We're helping, you know, a handful of women every year. I'd like to help more. We want to get rid of a wait list. I never wanted to have a wait list, so you know, this show is wonderful, and I'm so glad that, you know, we're on it to be able to share some things that people might not know in breast cancer as they see pink ribbons month after, you know, in October, which we call Breast Cancer Action Month.
Action, absolutely. Angela, so one of the things you do is you are the coach of CIS, Survivors in Sync. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, my journey through Breast Investigators has taken me on a lot of different paths, meet a lot of wonderful people. And one of my paths led me to meeting the chair of the Dragon Boat Festival that was coming to Sarasota, Kim Bonomo. And the next thing I know, I'm starting a Dragon Boat team and am now the coaching captain of Survivors in Sync. We're here in Sarasota, and it's been an amazing journey. It's been, I think, almost 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's all breast cancer survivors. I have to, so I'm first teammate. That's just,
yeah.
throw that
My
in
first
there.
recruit.
My first one, so the first one.
Right.
But it is so wonderful because it's all different women, all breast cancer survivors that are just coming together, and they're amazing. And you never realize that it is a support group, but I am so surprised what I get out of it. I mean, you were standing at the back of the boat and watching all of us interact must be, you know.
And for those who don't know about dragon boating, I'm sure you're familiar with it too, but it's compared often to rowing. as you know, but it's a 40-foot long boat where there's 20 paddlers, 20 in our boat, 20 breast cancer survivors, a drummer that sits in the front and a steersman that's at the back. And it's an ancient Chinese sport that now has been embraced by the breast cancer survivor world because of its benefits for health and improvement for lymphedema for breast cancer survivors. And it's just become this on-the-water support group for so many women, and it has spread around the world. It's just a phenomenal movement.
I think the competition is, they had one in Tampa Bay, right? Like where do you?
Well, they have an international festival every 4 years.
Okay.
And that's what was here in Sarasota in
Okay.
2014, and that's how we got started. It was the first time it was on American soil.
Oh, wow.
So that was really exciting for us in this area and for us to represent Sarasota. But there's dragon boat festivals all over.
Okay.
We have them locally in Sarasota, Tampa. You're right, there was a dragon boat festival in April, I
Okay,
think.
is that what it was?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they have them quite often in that area and all around. So we participate, CIS participates in local events. We travel around the state, and now we're getting actually geared up to go to Italy for the next international festival.
I'm free for that.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
So yeah, the 4 years has rolled around again, and in 2018 we'll be in Florence, Italy.
Oh, wow.
Competing there. So we're excited. We're doing lots of fundraising
Congrats.
to try to supplement the funds for travel,
Getting
because
there.
we have several paddlers that are on scholarship, in order to
Yeah.
to
Be able to
raise.
go. Very nice.
So there's so many women out there, breast cancer survivors, and I know that what they're thinking is they want to pay it forward. I think, and that's how I think all of our journeys started. It was like, I need to do something, that there has to be a reason why this has happened to me. And, whether you're hugging someone and saying, something pleasant to someone in a store, but they're out there, and I'm sure that there's no way they want to go to this extreme of what you two ladies have accomplished. Sometimes I always say to the women, know your strengths, know your gifts, because it could be as simple as baking, because that's not something I can do, but baking. And could you imagine while you're laying in bed, right after chemo, and you receive a fresh box of baked cookies? I think that's probably the only thing I would have been able to hold down. Something that you enjoy that's simple, and share it. That's paying it forward. Do you have any suggestions to the women that are watching that would really like to try and do something to pay it forward?
Well, for us in our arena, I love your idea of food items. Volunteerism. I mean, there's so many great organizations out there, and again, I just have to go into the grassroots area, but time is a treasure. It's our most precious gift that we can give one another. And for our organization, we're always in need of individuals for events. Board advisory board. Everyone has a strength, a skill set that can shine somewhere. I mean, Angela's bringing people together with the dragon boating and that sort of support area. But I think that there are volunteermatch.org, I believe, is an organization here locally. I don't know if they're national, that lists charities looking for people to help. So that's one place that I would refer folks to, besides, of course, myhopechest.org.
Yeah. How about you, Angela? Any suggestions for these women that would love?
Yes. This is something that I'm very passionate about. Is finding that thing that sings to you that you can use to pay it forward. But there's so many ways that you can do it without recreating the wheel. There's so many organizations that you can partner with or volunteer for, like Elisa said. But if there's something that's unique that you see that isn't being done, instead of starting your own nonprofit, consider starting with another organization. And that's what Breast Investigators did. We partnered with Team Tony Foundation, which is a one-to-one peer support in the Sarasota area. And it's been a wonderful partnership because that's something that has always been asked of us, emotional support. And now we can offer it through Team Tony Foundation, their database of cancer survivors. So, you know, if it's something that's unique, look for other nonprofits that are similar and compatible with what you are intending on doing, and reach out to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, we're winding down, so I just thought I would ask. I know when I meet a survivor, there's always like those little bit of inspiration or things that I, wish I would have known, and I kind of like to share. First, I love sharing how long of a survivor I am. I think that always gives somebody that much more hope. She's done it 15 years. But and I'll mention things such as, if you have that metal taste in your mouth, use a plastic spoon. It's that simple. It's like all these little things that now, if we would have known, that we're sharing, is all of the survivors that are watching the show, the caregivers, what's the advice that you would love to share with them?
I've spoken to a lot of women in 14 years, and for no matter what the disease is, a diagnosis of cancer is a one day at a time kind of journey. And I think for me, I had to take it in that respect. A lot of women are very compelled, men, everyone, to, okay, what's going to happen down here? It's a one step at a time kind of journey. It's also for the caregivers. I always say, don't panic, don't assume the worst, don't think the worst. A lot of people want to look at what are the side effects and what have you. I have gals that are close to me right now, and I'm like, you're going to know a side effect if it happens. You don't need to read them and worry about them, especially if you have the gene of kind of worrying about things. I encourage them strongly not to do that. But I'm so far removed from the front end of the disease that I don't know any advice about that. But I really think it's a one day at a time. Breast cancer is 80 to 90% curable.
Yes.
There's no longer a death sentence the minute that you hear it. So that's kind of what I would say.
And I'm the first to say, do not read those things, because the minute I see this symptom, all of a sudden, I don't know about you girls, but I'm having every single one of them as I'm reading them.
Yeah, you have to be careful. You
Yeah.
have to get your anxiety in check when you're dealing with this. And I would say, to piggyback on yours, that's really such important advice that I like to give as well, is just to really try and take one day at a time, find the joy in every day. And I know sometimes that's really hard to do when those days are hard, but really do your best and always try and find hope in tomorrow.
You know what, I want to interject, laugh a lot.
Yeah.
My mother was going through treatment. She started watching Seinfeld for the first
Yeah.
time, and Friends and things like that. Things to keep your emotions up, because this is a journey. A cancer treatment usually has a definitive time, and keeping your emotions up, like you said, your health up, and a belief that you will get through this.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, and then you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you were telling us about an event that you're having that you'd like to mention.
Okay, so October, as you know, we call it Breast Cancer Action Month because we have a definitive, measurable outcome. But we have an upcoming event on October the 18th in Tampa. It's called The Pink Party, and it's at Seasons 52. October the 18th is Bra Day, which is Breast Reconstruction Awareness Day. We actually have a day now in the month of October. So information is at our website. That is one major event. We have a lot of what we call third-party events going on. There's something in Kendra Scott in Hyde Park next Thursday, a shopping stroll. So we'd love people to take a look at that. And then we have our Ed Morris Automotive Drive for Hope. It's their 5th anniversary of partnering with us, the West Coast dealership. So if you need a car, please check out Ed Morris. Yeah. So that's
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, ladies. What I wanted to, first, I cannot thank you enough for coming on, for sharing your story. And first, ladies, you're just so inspirational. Your passion to make a difference for all these survivors that you've touched. It's incredible women like you that truly take the mystery out of breast cancer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Helping, guiding someone else through their journey must be so rewarding. And it must be really what keeps you going in our really very busy lives. But to all of you out there watching, if you have a question, if you have a topic, if you feel like you want to know something on another topic, please send me an email. I would love to bring in an expert. I would love to answer that question. I'd like to explore those topics. Breast cancer doesn't discriminate. Whether you're 28 or 88, if you're blue, if you're purple, if you think it can't happen to you, it only happens to other people, I'd like to remind you that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. It's a frightening statistic, isn't it? A cancer diagnosis will turn your life upside down in an instant, changing it forever. What once was normal will never be again. But the resources are available today to help people like our guest today bring hope. I just want to say thank you to METV for making this show possible. Please join us again. We'll see you next time on Women's Wellness. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joanne Hampton.